Entropia Universe has been seeing some changes this year, and one that I have been hugely anticipating is the release of the new starting area, Setesh. The Setesh moon was hardly a new name in Entropia. The lore spoke of colonists being attacked, which turned into the release of the new Spina mob, which happened back in 2023. Before this, Setesh was described to us as a development playground for the devs back in 2022, when they released their roadmap for the Unreal Engine 5 update. Safe to say, Setesh has gone through some changes on its purpose throughout the years. When the new starting area of Setesh was finally released in September of 2025, many were wondering if this area would meet the expectations the players wanted, or whether it would be a stepping stone to disaster. Before I get into the Setesh mission discussion, I wanted to talk about what came before it. The starting area before Setesh was known as Thule. When you first start up the game, you either get the chance to do the tutorial or skip it. If you did do the tutorial, you were met with a few starter missions, primarily how to shoot, mine, use a vehicle, and other basic controls. Basically, most bog standard starting areas. Thule had been the starting area for a long time, and with the changes being made around Calypso, Thor remained untouched for years. It left the area rather outdated and ignored. So when Mindark finally announced they were completely revamping the new starting area, safe to say many were looking forward to seeing the new enticing area that would hopefully get many new players hooked in the times to come. One of the concerns players currently had was the lack of support a new player got when they first started playing. The dialogue was boring, the distance between the starter missions time-consuming. It wasn't surprising that many new players commented on the lack of drive to even finish the starting area in the first place. After all, first impressions are everything. Entropia was seeing a decline in players with a very few new players joining, as well as giving them a reason to keep on playing. Mindark really needed to make this new area something out of this world. Mindark teased a futuristic environment with never-before-seen NPCs and buildings. They seemed focused on showing players that this wasn't a simple recycling of old assets, that time and effort had gone in to show a completely new side of Entropia no one had witnessed yet. I will admit, from previous releases, I was a little skeptical that I would be seeing brand new buildings that had new intuitive designs, but surprisingly, the first location you were teleported to blew my expectations away. NPCs were walking around, the buildings had neon signs and moving elevators on the side. The ground was paved and moved with the land more naturally. Nothing about this place looked old and recycled. It was a fresh starting area. The area truly looked like a safe haven for those just starting out in the game. The rest of the map was also well developed, but less protected as it were. Robots and other mobs posed a threat to anyone leaving the safe haven of the main area of Port Geographer. But although the new area looked nice, the gameplay had to also deliver. Newly released areas like Aris and the Space Update were littered with performance issues, lag and game crashes. Existing players weren't really expecting much difference for this new server of Setesh. However, when prompted, Mindark did state that they had given more focus to reducing issues like lag and crashes. Only time would tell if they actually did anything, and if it was enough. To truly enjoy Port Geographer, the lag needed to be solved, and crashing mid-walkthrough wouldn't have been a great experience. For my first few minutes in Setesh, there was lag, but certainly not to the amount Aris had on its initial release, and admittedly still has to this day. I have also only crashed on Setesh twice since its release, which is a far cry less than when the new space update was launched, when I crashed 5 times in one day. And remember, this was after Mindark had released multiple hotfixes to apparently solve the issues. All in all, yes, there were still performance issues with sections of increased lag and certain areas and assets not loading properly. But Mindark seemed to have actually kept their word and given a little more focus and dedication to making the initial onboarding experience flow better as a whole. The hotfixes also came thick and fast, with many more pressing issues being changed within hours of multiple reports. I felt like I could actually move around without waiting for a whole minute for the servers to stop screaming and enjoy this new, immersive experience the game now had to offer. And speaking of new experiences, the mission chain of Setesh was teased to not only be lore-driven, but engaging, and most importantly, rewarding. So let's explore the first few hours on Setesh, and the mission chains it had to offer. As a new player, you'll be guided to someone called Kharkov, that is located at the start of Port Geographer, and given the mission A New Arrival. This is the start of a decent mission chain that will give step-by-step instructions on things like basic controls, hunting, driving vehicles, and healing. When completing the first set of missions, you'll be rewarded with the following: the Wasp HC hoverbike, the Set P1 civilian sidearm, 1 ped of universal ammo, and the Set HP1 healing orb. This in itself is where the mission could end. After all, this is roughly the point where the Thule starting missions ended before throwing you into Calypso. But more surprises awaited players when even more content was given to us. The next starting mission, called Restoring Signal, introduces you to threats for the first time, and also introduces you to the loot system. As a reward for completing this mission, you receive the survival knife and 0.5 ped of universal ammo. You'll then be directed to explore the nearby area due to a potential crash site. This gives the player more time to use the hoverbike and get used to the controls. Once again, threats will appear to stop you, but with ample ammo and weapons, it's an easy task to complete. The reward for completing this mission is the Set P2 Scout Sidearm and 0.5 ped of ammo. Even with this content being almost double the original, there are still 2 more mission chains after this to get the player started on their journey. And by started, I mean more weapons, ammo, and even armour. You'll be guided through the Hankaran Savannah area, and then finally to Bakan Jungle area. These mission chains will give you a bunch of universal ammo, another healing device, new weapons, as well as an armour set. Each weapon being slightly different than before. It allows you to explore a few different types of these weapons, from melee to ranged rifle to ranged pistol. These missions are not just done in 10 or so minutes. You get almost an hour of introduction content with appealing rewards at the end of each mission. It was an amazing sight to see new players finally getting more support and guidance in their first few hours within the game. Even when completing the mission chain, there is extra content if you return back to Port Geographer. This mission chain is known as the Octoburger mission chain. The local franchise is having trouble with supplies, and the increasing threats of the robots are causing the business to suffer. The mission requires you to do some further exploring and hunting of certain mobs around Setesh. These mobs included are as follows: Zabakumba, Exarosaurs, Frescocuda. Each time you complete one of the missions in the chain, you are rewarded with a certain flavour of Octoburger. Irresistible to some, I'm sure. Other missions, such as Helping Hand with Carmen Graves at Bakab Outpost and Savannah Survey with Specialist Mel at Han Rakwan Outpost, focuses more on crafting and mining tutorials to help get the players some experience in crafting and mining. One side quest I wanted to express is the Macabre Kill quests. This can be started by talking to Security Officer Michael at Macabre Outpost. He will need help with culling the local wildlife. The exotic wildlife in question consists of Teslapods, Estophils, and Prancers. Completing the first set of missions will get you not only universal ammo, but the start of an armor plating set. If you talk to Michael again after the initial 3 quests, he will give you another 3 to get the rest of your burn plating Mark I armor plates. With the completion of this quest, you will essentially have a fully kitted avatar to explore the world of Entropia. Being sent down to Calypso may be a little less daunting now. Although there are many missions within Setesh, I haven't been able to show you everything, for a few reasons. One, there is simply so many missions that I couldn't cover it in this video. Secondly, I haven't actually started some of them, and thirdly, I'm not a new player. So as such, some missions are actually locked out to me because I did the Thule equivalent back in 2018. I actually enjoyed this feature. Mindark put a small restraint on players visiting the area, but still gave out so much to pre-existing players who did come to Setesh in the first place. Existing players were still able to receive a bunch of newly released items, and here I'm going to go into a little more detail about each one and why so many people fell in love with them. The Set P1 Civilian Sidearm is a fantastic low cycle weapon with a lot to offer. Although it only has a DPS of 1.4 and a 10 pec lifespan, it has an exceptional durability, which means in its 10 pec life, it lasts for 10,000 shots before breaking. This durability is honestly nuts for such a small weapon. It also has a staggering 80% efficiency. It has an impressive 86 shots per minute, using only 20 ammo per shot. The range is only 16.2 meters, meaning the player will have to get a little close and personal with the mob, but it's a small price to pay for such a well-rounded weapon. As an existing player, this weapon is crazy, but not overly so. New players have honestly been given a treat with this weapon. An eco weapon that is cheap to use, it gives good loot composition because of the efficiency, and lasts for hours of gameplay. Oh, and the best part, it's repairable. Straight from the first mission, you are given a repairable item that isn't going to run your ped card dry within a few minutes. But probably one of the most loved items to come from Setesh is the Wasp HC hoverbike. This hoverbike is a completely new design in Entropia. Not only that, the sound of the hoverbike is also new, showing us that Mindark put a little bit more thought into this small but powerful vehicle. And did I mention she drives well and fast too? It sadly only has a 50 pec lifespan with 5,000 durability. The most unfortunate thing of all for all players who have this vehicle is that it's limited. I completely understand why it's limited though. But if Mindark want to continue this wave of giving a little back to a highly distrustful player base right now, they should absolutely make a BP to make these in the future. Players new and veteran are using this vehicle on every planet until it eventually dies, with many practically begging for a way to get their hands on another one. So, nearing the end of the video, I tend to go into the bad sections of the new releases. But in all honesty, I don't really have that many concerns. Most of my concerns I've already stated. The weapons are well-rounded. Yes, the Set P1 Civilian Sidearm was nerfed within a few hours of release, but I think we can all agree that a 9.1 DPP was a little excessive. The free weapon rewards may be small in value, but remember, this is just a trial area. These were never meant to last forever, and even the armor reward was a new starting feature. Yes, you cannot sell it, but this is a smart move from Mindark, in all honesty, and with the durability this armor has, it's still going to last a long time. The very fact that we've been given an unlimited item at the start at all is showing Mindark is perhaps finally starting to realise that things need to change for this game to continue. Hopefully, getting a player fully kitted will encourage them to stay and enjoy the game like so many others before them. Perhaps they stay as a free-to-play, or they may go to the web store and buy a starter pack. Whichever option they take, it still means we have one extra player cycling and enjoying what this game has to offer. I'm not saying Setesh has redeemed everything that Mindark has done in the last few years. It's going to take more than this starting area, but at the very least there might be a little more light on the horizon if this is how the developments are going to proceed in the future. Thank you to everyone who has listened to another one of my breakdown videos. I have had a lot of fun running around Setesh and enjoyed seeing something a little different in Entropia. Who knows what my next video will be in the future? Till the next time, Entropians. See ya!